Welcome back, everyone. In our last explainer, we laid the groundwork for project leadership with PMBOK 8's proactive dimension. While today, we're building the rest of the house. We are diving deep into the principles that really define modern leadership, ownership, and value. And let me tell you, these are some of the most critical, most impactful shifts in the new guide, especially if you're sitting in a senior leadership or governance role. Okay, so what's on the docket today? We're going to tackle 3 absolute game-changing principles: accountable leadership, integrated sustainability, and empowered culture. Then, the really cool part, we'll pull it all together into that complete 3D mindset, and I'll show you exactly how these principles plug into the performance domains. And through it all, we're going to keep a laser focus on what this means for governance and for creating processes that are truly audit-ready. But first, let's just take a quick step back to get our bearings. In part 1, we covered that proactive dimension. You remember the principles of taking a holistic view, focusing on value, and embedding quality. You can think of these as the instincts, that forward-looking radar that helps you get ahead of complexity before it gets ahead of you. So now that we've got that foundation solid, we're ready to add the next 2 levels. We're going to complete the entire framework with the dimensions that drive real ownership and create sustainable long-term value. This is where that high-level strategy starts to feel like tangible action. All right, let's get right into our first new principle, and it is a major one: accountable leadership. Now, this isn't just some new buzzword. It actually takes the old concepts of stewardship and leadership from PMBOK 7 and forges them into something way more potent, way more direct. Now, what's really fascinating here is the deliberate choice of words. We're moving away from this kind of passive idea of stewardship to the really active, powerful stance of accountable leadership. What does that mean? It means taking full, no-excuses ownership of your decisions, your ethics, and your outcomes. You're shifting from being just a caretaker of the project to being its owner. It's not enough to just look after it anymore. You have to own its success or its failure, period. So why the change? It's simple, really. In the real world, especially when you're talking to senior leaders and auditors, good intentions just don't cut it. They demand clear, measurable accountability. This change directly addresses a big weakness in PMBOK 7, where accountability kind of felt fuzzy. Audit-ready leadership is all about making those tough ethical calls under pressure, being able to stand by your outcomes in a governance review, and building that bulletproof trust with your stakeholders and, yes, the audit committee. Next up, we've got Principle 5. Integrate sustainability. And I want to be crystal clear about this. This is arguably one of the most important, most necessary modernizations in all of PMBOK 8. It's a fundamental reset on how we even define and measure what project value is. And this slide just illustrates the new math perfectly. We're talking about the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. The absolute key takeaway here is that sustainability is no longer a nice-to-have or some separate CSR initiative. No, it is a core component of value delivery, fully baked into every project decision you make. This makes it practical, it makes it measurable, and it makes it absolutely central to what we do as professionals. So for anyone listening who's in a governance or strategy role, this gives you a clear, actionable playbook. Step 1, you have to evaluate all projects through that full triple bottom line lens. Step 2, you've got to identify those long-term environmental and social risks before they blow up into major liabilities. And step 3, you align every single project with the organization's big picture ESG goals and all the compliance mandates. This isn't just about being green. It's about future-proofing your entire portfolio and building a resilient reputation. Now let's see how these ideas build on each other and lead us to our 6th and final principle: creating an empowered culture. This takes those ideas of collaboration and teamwork from PMBOK 7 and really evolves them into something far more dynamic, more decentralized. I mean, the visual here really says it all, doesn't it? We are shifting from that rigid, top-down command of a pyramid to the dynamic, collaborative power of a network. This principle is all about creating psychological safety and enabling decentralized decision-making. And the governance benefit here is massive. Think about it. When teams feel safe and empowered, what happens? They report risks more honestly, they innovate more freely, and they take true ownership of their work. So, there we have it. We've explored all 6 principles, from the proactive to the ownership-driven. Let's bring them all together now and look at the complete 3-dimensional mindset. This is how these individual pieces snap together to form a single integrated system for modern leadership. And here it is, the full framework, the whole shebang. You've got the proactive dimension with its focus on a holistic view and quality. You've got the ownership dimension built on accountable leaders and empowered cultures. And finally, the value-driven dimension, demanding a focus on value and integrated sustainability. The crucial point here is that this isn't just some random list of good ideas. It's a cohesive framework of behaviors where each one reinforces the others. Let's be really, really clear about what this quote means. These 6 principles are not rules to memorize for a test. They are behavioral standards. They represent how you should show up and lead every day. The 7 performance domains, which we're going to cover next, that's the what you do. So think of these principles as the bridge that connects your mindset to your actions. It's the gateway from principle to actual execution. And that wraps up our deep dive into the 6 core principles of PMBOK 8. We've defined the complete behavioral framework for modern project leadership. So the logical next question is, okay, great, so where do I actually apply all this? And the answer to that lies in the performance domains. In our very next explainer, we're going to start unpacking those 7 performance domains, kicking things off with 2 that are absolutely critical for senior leaders and auditors: governance and stakeholders. If this series has been helping you in your professional practice or on your PMP journey, you're definitely going to want to make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you then.
Learning reinforcement.
A flawless proactive schedule often fails to survive a governance audit because it lacks a clear framework for decision ownership when outcomes deviate from the plan. To bridge the gap between planning and successful execution, we must establish measurable, audit-ready ownership. We evaluate this through the 3-dimensional mindset framework. In our previous session, we established the proactive dimension, maintaining a holistic view, focusing on value, and embedding quality. Today, we populate the ownership and value-driven dimensions to complete the behavioral framework for a modern project manager. Adopting these dimensions provides the standards needed to lead ethical, sustainable, and collaborative operations. We start with Principle 4, be an accountable leader. While PMBOK 7 focused on stewardship, PMBOK 8 requires active accountable leadership. You must demonstrate explicit ownership of data, decisions, and outcomes. Internal auditors require proof of who owns ethical decisions under pressure. Documentation of good intentions is insufficient for governance. This accountability extends to the project's long-term impact, defined in Principle 5, integrate sustainability. Total project value is now calculated using the triple bottom line, people plus planet plus profit. Treat sustainability as a mandatory constraint throughout the entire lifecycle, embedding ESG compliance checks into every phase from planning to delivery. Applying Principles 4 and 5 provides the evidence needed to verify regulatory compliance and safeguard the organization. Let's test this. Suppose a vendor offers cheaper material violating organizational ESG goals. State the PMBOK 8 response. You must reject it. Principle 4 requires ethical ownership, and Principle 5 mandates sustainability. Managing these standards across a team requires Principle 6, build an empowered culture. This addresses the concern that decentralizing decisions might lead to a loss of control. By creating psychological safety and giving authority to the team members at the outer edges of the project, individual nodes resolve issues independently before they reach the center. This structure improves governance by ensuring team members provide earlier and more accurate risk reporting. Distributing decision-making authority creates the mechanism that increases overall operational control and project safety. We now return to the 3-dimensional mindset matrix to synthesize the complete set. Principles 4, 5, and 6 complete the ownership and value-driven dimensions, providing a full view of the behavioral standards. These 6 principles function as an integrated behavioral standard, guiding how you operate within the project environment. You can use this completed matrix as a reference for the PMBOK 8 behavioral standards. Adopting this mindset is the prerequisite for navigating the tactical execution phases of the 7 performance domains. This framework serves as the operating system for project leadership. In Video 4, we apply these principles to governance and stakeholders. Subscribe and turn on notifications to follow the rest of the series.